might get started then so that we don't go on for too long. So welcome everybody. It's very exciting to see you at our first official EPIC event. And I'm Helen Bolsh, and I'm the chair of the EPIC committee, which is a subcommittee of the Speech New Zealand Board of Trustees. And we sort of pick people to go on that who maybe had an interest. And after 35 years as a member of SCA, I had a passionate interest in making sure that we kept some sort of professional body going. And I'd also been on the board at Speech New Zealand for about 8 years, so I kind of knew the running of that as well. And there's 6 of us on our subcommittee, and we had a very busy January, and Emma will attest to this because she took all the minutes and had to get everything in motion, getting things set up, because it's quite a task setting up a new organisation. But anyway, what was born out of all those meetings was EPIC. And so I thought I'd start off just by introducing you to the members. So I'm Helen. I live in Christchurch. I've been involved in teaching for about 37 years and a member of SCA for about 35 of those. I have a private studio and teach in a school and have taught in a school for about the last 30 years. So well versed in various areas of speech and drama, but not so much in other areas that some of you are more involved in. And so perhaps our other committee members would like to introduce themselves. So we have Pam. Oh, I think you might be muted, Pam.
I was very polite and muted myself to start. I've been involved with Speech New Zealand for a long time, but I've been a member of Speech Communication Association for much, much longer. I can't remember. One of the first meetings I attended was at the old town hall in Christchurch. So that was many, many moons ago. And I've always found that professional body, some had members that I looked up to, that were role models for me, and I really, really wanted to see that body continue in some shape or form. And it was really important too to make sure that as Speech New Zealand volunteered, if you like, to take it under its wing, what we really wanted to do was to make sure that it was also a neutral body and not it's separate. So even the accounting and the website, we have a separate web page from the Speech New Zealand one. So we thought it was very important to be a neutral body, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Good. And Sandra Bartlam.
I'm Sandra Bartlam. I live on the Kapiti Coast. I've been involved with Speech New Zealand since about 1974, but really went into teaching and left my career as hairdressing in 1983. I've taught right across all the syllabuses based just about at some stage or another. I've been passionate about developing a business and making sure that it was viable, and also sustaining it for 30 odd years. I had last year off, but I've now gone back to work in the same classroom I worked in 1983 at Marsden, teaching in the primary school. So it's nice to be able to keep my hand in. Now I've got older, and I'm looking forward to what I can do to support other teachers and changes within our profession.
Right. Lucy Durkin.
Hello. Kia ora everyone, I'm Lucy. I live in Christchurch, and I've been teaching since my children were little. So yes, probably 20 years I'd say now. And I'm on the, I joined this committee, well I applied to join it because I'm really, I'm quite passionate about keeping a professional body going. I think it's really important. And I think professional development's really, really important too. So that's why I got involved.
Right. Sarah Entwistle.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarah and I'm in Dunedin, and I served on the Speech Communication Association committee for a number of years. And so when that finished, I was given the opportunity to come onto this committee. And so I'm excited about the next step within New Zealand amongst performance and communication educators. And one of the things I'm particularly excited about is this notion of being as inclusive as we possibly can, and really reaching out beyond what has been known as speech and drama, when there are just now so many different avenues that people are working through and within as communicators, as educators. Part of my work involves working with young people and using the Speech New Zealand syllabus, which I feel very, very proud to use. And I think it offers a huge amount to young people, but also to all kinds of people groups. So I think that's enough from me, really.
Right. And is Nina here or not?
She's not on tonight, no.
Okay, right, yeah. Well, our other person is Nina Burtt, who's from Auckland, and she's also new to the Speech New Zealand Board of Trustees, and we felt that it was good to have her involved because she's kind of got a different type of teaching again, in that she is responsible for a large studio where she has other teachers teaching for her. So that's another example of a different sort of teaching that people are doing. All right. So what is EPIC? Right. We're a professional body and also a registrating body. And our name is Educators in Performance and Communication. We kind of, it was quite a sort of a light bulb went off really when the word educators was first mentioned, because it's quite a lot broader than the term teachers, and it hopefully will invite people from other areas that aren't necessarily teachers, but people who are involved in drama organisations, community theatre, all of those sorts of things, to come here, maybe even some of the, you know, Toastmasters or people like that who might like to be involved in our organisation in some capacity. And we came up with performance and communication because a lot of teachers are teaching other things now, not just speech and drama. They're teaching musical theatre, they're teaching performance skills, all those sorts of things, as well as communicating and leadership, as well as public speaking, all sorts of syllabuses between Trinity and Speech New Zealand. There's a real range of syllabuses. And so some of us are teaching across a broad spectrum, and some of us are just teaching in certain areas. But basically we wanted this to be a professional body that all of those people could belong to. Now, when we set it up, we thought, well, what are we going to do? Because we want to make it something that people who are just interested might be able to belong to, as well as those who were working and it was their profession. And so we came up with 3 levels. So one was registered educators, and that kind of ties in with your registered teachers from SCA. So that's people really who are probably earning their living, doing what they do, and they want to be involved in getting as much professional development as they can, which is what EPIC will be offering. And then we've got subscribers, which is at a considerably lower cost. And subscribers basically can get most of the things the registered educators can, but just for a small fee. For example, when we run a workshop, they'll be paying a small fee for it, whereas the people who are registered educators will get it for free. When we have our Facetoface PDs in January, those people will pay more for it than the registered educators will. But they'll still be able to be very involved. And lastly, we had friends, and those were people who just wanted to keep in touch with what we were doing and were interested, but maybe weren't, maybe they might be people who were educators who are now retired, or people who were simply interested in the work that we do. And so we wanted to make sure that we kept in contact with those people too, because those people are a wealth of information for us and can be incredibly helpful to an organisation like this. And so those were the 3 levels. And if you look on the website, you'll see what you actually get under each level of subscription there. And there's also the forms, obviously, to register for those. And it's great. We've already got registrations coming in thick and fast. So make sure you get yours in. The registration, basically the year will run the 1st of April to the 31st of March. And so what you really need to do is get your registration in by the 31st of March in order to get a whole year's benefit out of belonging. I mean, there's no, you can register in July or August or whatever, but it will still tick over at the end of March next year. So to get the full benefit, it's good to join before the 31st of March. And we've already got things planned. If you look at on the website again, we've got the what's happening coming up, and we've got the first thing is a workshop in April, which is being led by Del Costello. So that's on the 12th of April. And she's doing an in-depth look at teaching on Zoom. Del does all her teaching on Zoom, and she's going to be giving you lots of tips and ideas for teaching, things like how do you access what the students are doing and comment online, you know, how you mark their book if they were there with you, those sorts of things, how you can do things like that when you're teaching on Zoom. And I'm sure a lot of you will know a lot about Zoom now. I know 2 years ago, I didn't even know it existed. And there's been days when I've been spending 10 hours a day on Zoom at certain times since then. So it's certainly been a steep learning curve, but I'm very basic with it. And there's a lot that I know that I need to learn about that. And the second thing we've got coming up is in term 3 is speech language therapy and how we can work together. And we're very lucky in Christchurch to have a lovely young man called Hugh Morrison Thomas, and he is teaching speech and drama, but also just finishing his qualifications as a speech language therapist. And so he's going to talk about some of the overlap, what we can do if we've got a student who we feel maybe needs some speech language therapy, how we can work on things together. So I'm sure you've all got students that perhaps are working with a speech language therapist or you think might benefit from it. So that will be a good workshop there. We're planning a 4th workshop in the 4th term, maybe looking there at some New Zealand dramatists and some of the more recent works. We've got to confirm that yet. And finally, the exciting thing is to mark in your calendars the 17th and 18th of January in Wellington, which is when EPIC will be running our first Facetoface PDs. And we've got lots of exciting plans and train for that, but we won't tell you anything about them until they're confirmed. But basically it will be a full day on the 17th and finishing at lunchtime on the 18th. And we're doing this so that it can piggyback in with the Speech New Zealand Examiners Accreditation Seminar. So if you're coming to that, you can come to both. And we can also overlap to a certain extent with the rooms, with the speakers and things. So that's one way that we can do things perhaps a bit more cost efficiently as EPIC than our friend SCA was able to, operating completely separately. So those are just some of the things that are coming up. So any questions? Anything you'd like to know?
Where would you be holding this event?
It will be in Wellington at probably a hotel in Wellington. We haven't confirmed the venue yet. Have we, Emma?
No.
We have or we haven't?
No.
We haven't, but it will be at a hotel in Wellington. So you can either stay there or stay somewhere else in Wellington if you've got friends or somewhere that you like to stay when you're in the capital. And it could be a good opportunity to come early and spend a couple of days looking around, maybe going to some theatre, things like that. So Wellington's a good place and nice and central for most people to get to. Anything else about those? Well, I'll just look at a couple of questions then that have come in from people that they've sent in or things that they've queried. So one was firstly about the police vetting. Don't take umbrage at that. It doesn't mean we suspect that you're some sort of a rogue. It's just that for any of you who work in a school, you'll know that this is now absolutely essential. Everybody has to have a police check, and it's updated every few years. And it's basically, it covers not just the school, but it also protects you and protects the students. So it's kind of something that's there. And we feel that it's a good thing, even if you're not teaching in a school, to have it done so that you can say to students and parents, I have been police checked, that you've got a police check, so that they feel a little bit more comfortable about that. Even, you know, parents going into help in the classroom or help on a school camp have to have those nowadays. So it's just a practice that we feel it's important to do. And as a new organisation starting up, we felt that we wanted to make absolutely sure that people that we were endorsing had that done. So it's just a formality. Police do them all the time for all sorts of things. And, you know, it'll just mean that they've come back and say, yes, they're fine. And so then you can say to your students, if you're teaching in private practice, that you have had a police check done, that you've passed your
Helen,
police check.
just a question and a comment. The question is Speech New Zealand an accredited organisation who can apply for a police check? Because an individual cannot do it. It's got to be done by your school,
Yes,
for example.
Speech New Zealand already does it.
And
for
Speech
their
New Zealand can
examiners.
do it.
Yes, yes.
We do it for all. We do it for all our employees.
Yeah.
So you apply to the police?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you do. Okay.
Hmm.
And the second one is, I came across a new issue the other day that if Speech New Zealand or EPIC would ever want to apply for funding to an organisation such as the Department of Internal Affairs, where they manage COGS and lottery grants and various other funding sources, they now require your organisation, the applicant, to have a policy on being kind to children, child abuse prevention policy. So Speech New Zealand has one of those,
Yes.
and doing police checks is one of the elements of that policy. But we cannot apply for funding if we do not have such a policy, and if we are obviously not implementing our policy.
Well, all the registered teachers or educators do also sign the Code of Ethics, which probably covers a lot of what you're talking about there. We've got act with integrity by using means that are fair, ethical, honest and just, maintain cultural awareness and a commitment of turititi o whaitangi and bicultural partnerships in Aotearoa New Zealand, work to empower learners by using quality teaching and leadership strategies, actively support and encourage professional colleagues in the industry, engage in positive and collaborative relationships with learners, their families and whānau, and the wider community, create a welcoming, caring and creative learning environment that treats everyone with respect and dignity, run my financial affairs with integrity in a manner that reflects my professional standing in the business community, and undertake annual professional development by extending my profile in my community and or attending relevant workshops or courses. So,
right, a related question then is there, Emma, a separate policy manual for EPIC, separate from the policy manual for Speech New Zealand?
Yeah. So
if there is, then in the EPIC policy manual, there needs to be something about police vetting.
Okay. So at this stage, there isn't, because we haven't gone down the track of looking to get any funding for EPIC just yet. At this stage, we're looking to figure out how many people want to become registered educators. Then we'll have a pool of money from the registration and subscription fees. And that's how we'll figure out what do we want to deliver. So at this stage, we haven't gone down the track of looking for funding or anything like that. So we're really kind of just trying to base it on a delivery model at this stage that is directly represented of how many people have subscribed or registered.
Yeah, Emma, sorry, my question was more bureaucratic than that. Is there a separate policy manual for EPIC from the Speech New Zealand policy manual?
No, there isn't, is
There
my
isn't.
answer.
Okay.
But we are building those up. We've got things, different things there, for example, for the committee, and like the code of ethics and all those sorts of things. So those are gradually, all those things will be put together, and I guess what you could say is a manual. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Another query that came through from a teacher was, do I have to be registered with EPIC to enter students for Speech New Zealand exams? And the answer to that was a very firm no. No, you don't. Completely different. Anybody can enter people for Speech New Zealand exams. They don't have to be, well, they don't even have to be a qualified teacher at all. You know, anybody can enter somebody for a Speech New Zealand exam. But I did say to her it would be lovely to have you on board though at EPIC, and hopefully you'd realise the benefits of that, but absolutely separate. If you've never entered a student in a Speech New Zealand exam in your life, again, it doesn't stop you from being involved in EPIC. We want everybody who's involved in educating in any areas of performance and communication to feel that they can be involved and be part of EPIC. Some more queries, anything you'd like to ask?
Yes, I would, Helen.
Yes.
One of our teachers emailed me to ask me to be a referee for her and to fill in the form and send it to her. I was absolutely nonplussed. Fill in what form, what I've got, not even in the loop with that.
Okay, what we wanted to do was just make sure that, I mean, we know a lot of you, especially the people that were with Speech Communication Association, but we are opening this up to a wider audience, and there may be some people that none of us know at all. And so we thought that it would be a good idea for them to have a reference, just to say, yes, this person works in the industry and they're a great person, very basic. However, we have realised that for some people, that may be a stumbling block, especially at the moment when we're not seeing a lot of each other face to face, and it is that, can you download this form and send it? So what we have done is modified that on the, we did this on Friday, didn't we, Emma? And what you've got to do now is simply send the name of a referee and their email, so that if we don't sort of know that person or what they do, then we can just contact that referee and say, hi, this person's applied to be a registered educator with EPIC. How do you know them? You know, sort of what do they do? So you don't actually have to get that form filled in anymore. It's great if you did get that. It's nice to get the affirmation that somebody thinks that you're wonderful. But it will be now that you just have to supply the name and email.
This person has been a registered STA member for years.
Yeah.
So what happens to people like her and people like me? How do we become involved in EPIC?
Well,
what do we actually do?
All you do is fill in the form and you write
So there is
Pam Logan and her email on the form. And obviously we think, oh, yes, that's Meredith. We love Meredith. And you'd be in there anyway. But if we didn't know you, then we might look to see that. Yeah. Oh, there we are. She's just sharing something. Yes. So all of this is on the website. Yeah.
So that's on the Speech New Zealand website.
Well, and you press on EPIC under that. Yeah.
You can just look up EPIC.
Yeah, you can just look up EPIC as well. Yeah. Okay. The website.
And it was on the letter that you would all received at some stage too.
Yeah.
And really, if you were a member of SCA, basically you're automatically involved in this one. But we need to get the forms filled in so everything's above board, if you like.
We've got all the paperwork. Yeah.
Right. So I just replied. I said to her I would wait until this evening's tutorial and find out what I was supposed to do for her. I noticed that she's not in the group that's on the screen.
Right. And if you're completely bamboozled by filling in forms online, you can request that the forms get sent to you, and then you can fill them in by hand and send them back.
Yeah. So just be in touch with me. You know, I can. It does have it on the form now. So there's a space on the form where it says, if you'd like these forms to be posted to you, please put your address, your postal address. and that's super easy for me to post it. Just make sure that right at the end of filling out the form, even if you do put the postal address, you actually click the submit button, because that will make
and
sure
the
that
I'm not a robot button.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's a tick box, as with all online forms now. There's a tick box for I'm not a robot, and then a big yellow submit button. You'll know if it's gone through because it'll come up on the screen saying thank you for your submission. So as soon as you do that, don't worry, I'll reach out to you once I get around to looking at your email.
Okay.
Basically, we don't want any of the paperwork to be a barrier to anybody joining EPIC. So if there's something you don't understand or you don't know about, just ask Emma.
Yeah.
She's happy to help. Even I managed to do it after a bit, didn't I, Emma? So
absolutely.
I'm now a stand-up member. Yes.
Can I ask you something? What do you do for the fellows from SCA? Are they automatically transferred, or is that just wiped?
We did discuss that actually the other night. This is a completely different organisation, but we will be looking, obviously, at some point to appoint some people as fellows of EPIC. And so it could well be that people who were fellows of SCA will be invited to become fellows of EPIC, but we haven't gone down that road yet. We've been spending all the time getting it set up, and then we'll look to those sorts of things as we go on.
So do we just join up as a registered teacher or something?
Yes, at the moment you can join, or you can be a friend, or you can be a subscriber. It's up to you. But we will look at that. Certainly in the first year, we will look at that. The other thing, of course, too, that we need to look at some point is that SCA did accredit adjudicators. And so we need to look at how we're going to manage that side of things as well, as another thing of how because we want to make sure that festivals are still using people who are qualified adjudicators and know what they're doing. So we just have to work out the logistics of how that's going to work. So there's a few things still that obviously we've got to work through.
Helen, I possibly was not paying enough attention, but you explained the registered educators and you explained the subscribers. What do the friends get?
The friends, they get a newsletter that'll come out once every 2 months, I think it is, isn't it, Emma? That's going to be just with bits and pieces. They can also join our workshops and our PDS for a fee. So, there we are. She's got it down there too. Yes.
And their fee is higher than the fee for the subscribers?
No.
Yes.
Yes, the fee for friends will be higher than the one for subscribers, and that will be higher than the one for registered educators. Just like an SCA where you had levels of fee.
What is it for registered people?
To be a registered educator, it's 175, which is just a little bit less than what it was to be with Speech New Zealand, with SCA as a registered teacher. But subscriber is significantly lower than an ordinary member was with SCA. And then we also have this third tier, which is free, which is for friends. I mean, you may have like parents of students that are interested in what we do, or even students themselves, senior students, that may want to join as a friend because it's not costing them a cent. And then they can read in the newsletter and say, oh, that sounds interesting. I thought I might like to be a speech language therapist. I might pay my $20, which it will cost them to join that workshop, to see what that's all about. Whereas if you're a registered subscriber, registered educator, that's free. And if you're a subscriber, that's $10. So it's just different levels of what you pay.
Helen, in the 1980s, when my daughter was a speech and drama student of Pam Moore in Rotorua, SCA had a category called lay members. And I joined, and I really enjoyed that because it gave us the opportunity to have a very nice afternoon tea with one another once in a while, and meetings with the examiners, with the Speech New Zealand examiners.
We will certainly be encouraging EPIC to meet in their members, subscribers to meet in their own areas, and we will help to facilitate that if we can, particularly say if there's an examiner who's in town organising a meeting with them, but we certainly encourage you still to keep up that communication with the people in your area. Yeah.
But there's no notion of branches as in Rotorua.
No. Well, actually, SCA had no branches left. All the branches had gone. Mm-hmm. It was just another level of bureaucracy that they didn't really want. We still met informally, but we weren't actually considered branches of SCA, which is very sad because it was very strong. I know when I first joined in Canterbury, and it was a huge support when you were a young teacher starting out.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, it's Anna here.
Hi, Anna.
Fantastic. I think the name is great. I think the branding is really nice. It's clean and clear. Just a couple of things with the I'm very old-fashioned, and I'm still mourning the loss of Q. I actually really enjoyed writing for it. Actually, it says that you've got a newsletter. So could you just speak a little bit to that? And also, obviously, there was also a Find a Teacher, like there is in what you've got with Speech New Zealand. So I assume that you're not going to have a separate EPIC one, or are you?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Okay, great.
That will be a separate EPIC one, which will be on the EPIC website, and will include registered educators there. So you don't have to be teaching Speech New Zealand to do that. We'll still have a separate one on the Speech New Zealand website, which is teachers that are teaching Speech New Zealand syllabus, but we will also have the list of registered educators. And what was your other question?
Just about the newsletter.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, we're planning to put out a newsletter in the months when there isn't a workshop. So you'll have something happening pretty well every month. And what that will do is just talk about upcoming events, things that are happening, any things pertaining to what's going on that might be affecting us politically or health-wise, or any of those sorts of things. And you're welcome to send anything in that you would like included in there, Anna. We'd be more than happy.
Okay,
so
Helena, well do. Thank you for the invitation.
And those sorts of things. I don't know that we'll ever grow as fantastic as Q, because I mean, my goodness, the work that Donna put into that. But certainly we do want to have something that it'll probably be more along the lines of what Glenda used to put out, you know, just a page or two. Yeah.
The other thing we have talked about, but we haven't actually facilitated, I think, yet, correct me if I'm wrong, Emma, but it was to look at a Facebook page for teachers too.
Yeah.
So that's another possibility.
That gives
good opportunity for question and answers.
Yeah, definitely. So that will come into fruition once we get a little bit more further on along the track of getting these registrations in. So the registration period is right through until the 31st of March. So a lot of the creation of things like the newsletter and our Facebook page and things like that I'll be doing in March. But essentially the Facebook page will be kind of open forum for registered educators and subscribers to have access to. So it's just the registered educators and subscribers that are on the Facebook page. So you'll know that everyone there is getting the newsletter, and they're all getting, you know, similar information, and a lot of people are attending the workshops, but it's a great space to share other bits and bobs. This will take place of the Facebook page that we created last year, which was the Speech NZ Teachers page. Just too many pages sometimes spreads people a little bit thin. So we're just going to put all of our resources into that one page, which will be the EPIC Facebook page.
And for any of you who have got, like, maybe things you're doing, plays you're directing, or you're involved with competitions, you've got a festival coming up, let us know those sorts of things. You can put them on the Facebook page, or you can let us know, and those can go on the newsletter.
Yeah, it would be really lovely.
Competitions, the entries closed.
Yeah, it would definitely be lovely to have kind of an upcoming event section of the newsletter. I think that would be something that I would definitely, and it'll be me putting physically putting the newsletter together, but there'll be members of the committee writing it. So you can basically send it through to someone and it'll get into the newsletter. If in doubt, send it to me.
Yeah. If you're directing a play and you want us all to come along and cheer and clap in the audience, you know, let us know those sorts of things. Yeah. Or running a workshop on something. Anything else, folks? It's a kind of exciting but sad time, because I know a lot of us are really grieving the fact that we've been involved with SCA for so long and have so many fond memories of all the PDSs in the past and those sorts of things. And so it is sad that that's gone, but I think because we sort of worked through that and then launched ourselves into getting EPIC up and running, we're kind of re-energized and revitalized and thinking, hey, we really want this to work so that we get back, I guess, maybe some of the energy and excitement that was there with SCA for many, many years, and why we loved being part of it. Anybody, if you've got any ideas for things that you would like us to have workshops on, or things that you would like perhaps included in PDS, we've kind of got it outline what we're thinking at the moment, but if you come up with something wonderful that you'd like to see included, we can look at that. We're doing a workshop on it at some point. And the PDS will run exactly as it did for SCA. There will be a Trinity session, there will be a Speech New Zealand session, as well as sessions that are applicable to teachers that teach both syllabuses or don't teach exams at all. So there'll be something for everybody there. We're very anxious that we're not seen as just Speech New Zealand, but people who are educating in all areas. Even though Speech New Zealand's doing the groundwork.
Alan, just something about the technology for tonight's meeting. When Emma sent us the link, the reminder this afternoon, I clicked on that, and that took me to the Eventbrite website, and it said I had to log in. Now, this was a minute before this meeting was due to start. I was assuming clicking on what Emma had sent me would take me into this screen, but it does not.
Yeah, we do have an issue with that. That happened to me last year with something, didn't it? And
I came straight through. I had no problems at all.
I came straight through tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
You may already be users of Eventbrite, and I'm not. So if you're a new user, then you have to
all of the workshops last year were on Eventbrite.
Finder is the thing I'm linked with. Finder, not Eventbrite.
Oh.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I will have to use Eventbrite for everything to do with EPIC because of the fee associated with the subscribers and the friends. That's the only way that I can collect that $10 or $20. So it will need to be through Eventbrite. So I would just recommend you create an account with Eventbrite for when you do sign up for a workshop. And that will hopefully solve it. But yeah, that's mysterious that some people got taken to Eventbrite and some got taken to Zoom.
Yeah,
it was a Zoom link that I sent, so I don't know why it's
I wonder if it's those of us who had already registered beforehand came straight through, and those that perhaps have not used Eventbrite before might have had a problem. I don't know. Just
Emma, I got the direct link from you, but I also got another one, and I went to Eventbrite and it said to log in. I thought, I don't know my login stuff, so yeah, but I managed to go back, and because you'd sent the link directly as well.
Yeah,
so that seems to work, and then you can bypass the whole login thing. Yeah.
And so I think what I'll try and do is have you register on Eventbrite, because that means that I've got your registration, and that means that once I've got the registrations, I can email that group of people the direct link the day before.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Hopefully that's a good way to do it.
Because I do wonder about whether that's why we lost some tonight that had registered, because you have to click something that says further information or something on the Eventbrite to get the link, and if you don't know that, then you can't get there. Now I just see Niall had a question there about personal professional development. And basically what we want is to make sure that people who are registered educators are actually continuing to develop their skills. But it doesn't mean that you've got to be doing a university degree or anything like that. There's all sorts of ways that you can show that you have done some professional development. And when it comes to your re-registering again, you just need to say what you've done. And on the website, there's a whole list of things that you can do. And that would include like the workshops and PDS, obviously for EPIC, but there's studios, drama clubs, classroom teachers, drama teacher in a school, Sheila Wynn, workshops on in any areas, teaching a new syllabus or skill, a further diploma or qualification. You might be teaching migrants or international students, ESOL, community volunteer work, workshops in those, attending theatre, being involved in community theatre or professional theatre, being involved in professional speaking, reporting, public speaking things, further study, church, reading in church, those sorts of things, being involved with competitions, being a mentor. So there's lots and lots of things there. It doesn't mean anything necessarily in furthering your academic qualifications. It's just showing that you're still involved in learning and being involved in upskilling. So is Niall there? Does that answer that? If you look, there's a link on the website that you can click into.
So does that mean you don't have to have a professional qualification, a high-ranking educational certificate of some kind to be registered with EPIC?
Well, you do need some form of qualification, but that doesn't necessarily mean you've got to have an LTCL or an LSB or whatever. There's lots of other qualifications, and a couple of our members of the committee do look at those just to see what they are and to see how relevant they are if you are applying to be a registered educator. Yeah, we've got that there. So it is much the same as SCA there, that you are expected to have some form of qualification, because we do want to make sure that the people who are teaching and that we're endorsing as educators have had some degree of education in the field themselves.
And Helen, you're not looking for people who are trying to register to be able to teach many of the Speech New Zealand syllabuses, because I know what I'm doing in professional speaking, but I've done a little bit of oral communication with children, but work mostly with adults. How broad do you want our qualifications to be?
We want that breadth. We need that breadth. That's what.
So if I'm very narrow, I cannot be a registered teacher, or I can.
I don't see that's a problem personally.
Because so experience will come in there as well. The fact you've written a manual on it helps, Margaret.
But no, my point is just it is in basically one syllabus. And there's a whole heap of what Speech New Zealand does that I know nothing about.
It's not for teaching Speech New Zealand specifically. It's teaching in any field. And what we also want to be able to connect in with is perhaps professional people who are teaching at conferences and so on, professional communicators.
Drama teachers in school, people working in theatres.
Not necessarily people teaching.
There's no reason that 70 or 90% of the people involved in EPIC have actually nothing to do with the Speech NZ syllabuses. They could easily be massively the majority are people that have nothing to do with teaching Speech NZ syllabuses specifically.
So they don't need to have a professional qualification.
They don't need to have a Speech New Zealand qualification.
No. But they need to have some recognised one.
Yes.
Because something that is recognised, because what we've always said is that people could get university degrees in drama, but they had no idea about teaching it, whereas the people who had a teaching qualification at least had some evidence that they were qualified at that level. But if you can just join because you belong to a local group that's interested in some
well, you could become a subscriber then.
Then you might become a subscriber or a friend. Mhm.
But you need some form of formal qualification to be a registered.
Or industry experience.
Yeah.
Or experience in the industry. I think that's another
Yes,
thing that
yes.
we need to look at quite closely. Because I know polytechnics, for instance, use that. That's part of their qualification often is experience in the industry.
Fantastic.
Helen,
Yes.
just one more thing. Have you thought about how you're going to promote it and market it? Because as we know from the SCA, it was fairly myopic looking, and it's
That's our
really
March
important.
meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So are you thinking things like LinkedIn and?
Well, we
Obviously,
really
you've got
haven't discussed much of it at all, except that we were looking at doing some press releases and things, but we will be discussing that at our next committee meeting to see what we want to do, because we definitely do want to raise the profile so that our educators in performance and communication are also getting their profiles raised.
Great, thank you.
Dinny with the cat. I was looking at you before, Dinny, on the screen. I thought, what's that big curving thing on the side? And it was a cat's tail.
So cute.
Oh, there we go.
Gorgeous.
So what's the cat's name, Dinny?
You have to unmute, darling.
You're on mute.
Yes, you're on mute. What's the cat's name?
The cat is a stray, and it's called after my mother-in-law because she's very much in your face all the time, as you can see. And her name is Theodora.
All right. Oh, very good.
But
Don't you love that on Zoom when your children show you their pets or their little brothers or those sorts of things?
Or little brother tries to sneak in behind without being seen.
Well, the funny ones are when mum or dad is obviously on the side, out of vision, and you can tell that they're sort of coaching them on what to say from the side. The child is turning to look at mum or dad. Yeah. Those are all sorts of things that no doubt Dal will talk about in her workshop in April. All right, anything else? I'm just looking at the chat to see if there was anything else there. Thank you, Dinny. That was lovely, your message there.
It's really good to hear questions coming up about things we're looking to in the future, for instance, like Facebook or what was the other thing that somebody brought
marketing,
up?
Anna.
Marketing, things like that. We've talked about them, but we've just been so busy doing the other aspects.
Yeah. But what we want to do is be very receptive to things that you want. So we're setting up this as a new organisation. So if there's anything that you think that we could do to help you, let us know, because then we can consider it and look at it. And that's not just things for workshops, but hey, had you thought of this? Or maybe, Anna, you might have some wonderful marketing ideas that you could talk to us about. So just flick through something to the email, okay? And it will definitely be discussed at a meeting, the next meeting, anything that comes through on that email. And Emma keeps checking those for us. So that's wonderful.
And Helen, sorry, what am I doing? Are we going to have a logo to put on our invoices and our own personal marketing?
That's a good idea, that epic
Well, you
logo.
can use the epic logo. Hey, do you want me to talk about the epic logo? Because there's lots of things you may not have seen that we decided about it.
Right.
So one is we've got the E and the C, obviously nice open communicating mouths. Okay. Oh yes, there, Emma's putting it up for you. Okay. And so we've got one coming in from one side and the other opening out at the other side. And it looks like that educators and performance and communication are the words that are spelling out of the mouth. We've also got our dot, which is what makes it epic. But if you look at the dot and you imagine that as the head of a little person, you can also imagine that curving over the top of the P and the C are their arms, and down below the P and the C is their legs. So we've got a happy little person there. We've also got the C looks a little bit like a stage. And if you look at it, we are lighter in the middle. That's like the spotlight down there on the stage. So those were some of our ideas when we were coming up with the logo for EPIC. And it was quite funny because straight after we'd come up with EPIC, the very next week, Wellington came up with their sign down on the waterfront with the eye missing that you could put yourself into. So it was quite funny. We thought, well, we're obviously right on trend there. So
the C looks like a tongue, actually.
Like a tongue, yes. Well, very good. Yes. Yeah.
And after our name, would we put something like, RT, EP?
No, what you put, if you look there, what you put is REG, full stop, EPC, gap, NZ. So you're a
REG, full stop, EPC.
I'll send all of this out. Again, waiting until all of the because the registration period is until the 31st of March. It's better to send it out to everybody when we officially start the delivery year, and then from 1st of April everyone can be using the logo and calling themselves registered educators.
Reg.EPC gap NZ is what will replace RT-SCA.
Yes. Good question, Annette.
Well, thank you to the committee. I know there was a lot of work to get here, but you've taken us up, and it's looking really good. So thank you very much.
Good.
That's great. And we hope you enjoy a long and fruitful association with us.
We will, certainly.
And share the love with everybody else.
Yes. Make sure that
it's
anybody
just lovely
knows.
to be in a room with all the faces of people I know again.
Yes.
I've missed you.
Make sure you do talk to other educators in your area and say, hey, it's in your EPIC application yet.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Helen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
See you again in April.
See you later.
Bye.
Well,
Nice to see you.
Thank you.